How are we doing? It's been a little while since we have done a Q&A. Let me know if the mic's working well. I haven't had this set up in months, probably. I've been so busy. I don't think I've done one the entire spring so far. So just let me know if the volume is good. I've got my microphone in a little bit different spot than normal, but hopefully you guys can hear me well. If you can, give the video a like as well and give me a quick little thumbs up in the chat. And then we will start to answer your questions. Turn it up a little bit. Okay, I can turn it up. Let's see. Is that too loud? Let me know how the volume is there. I turned it up a good amount right there, I believe. Tell me if that's any better for everybody. If not, I'll turn it up a little bit more. All right, got a thumbs up, so it looks like the volume is better. All right, everyone, so thanks for hanging out. Thanks for asking questions. I've had a super long spring of baseball and a really long weekend. I've been at the field pretty much all day. Was up in Maine today. Had a nice long drive. Accidentally thought we were playing at 9 a.m. and it was a 10 a.m. game. And so I got up at 6 and got in my car and drove and realized I got there an hour early. So that was good. Let's see, got a whole lot of questions and comments. 1-0, what's up? 3-hour rain delay. Bus leaves at 9:45 for a 5-hour bus ride back home. Do you miss that minor league life? No, I don't, Juan. I don't miss that at all. I didn't enjoy my drive to Maine today, but okay. So what's up, Naptown? Sergio, what's going on? Alan, when are we getting more baseball, Matt? Do you mean video game, Matt? That type of baseball? Because I'm getting a whole lot of baseball. Can I make a video on how to properly dive in the outfield? Yeah, sure, I can do that. I'll try to put a video together for you. Hi, John, what's going on? I will be down in Georgia for the WWBA. I will be down there like I am every year. So if you're in the area, come on out, watch us play. I would say since I was pretty young, I wanted to play either in the major leagues or the NHL. Those were my two goals. Now I wish I could play in the NFL. Although my wife says she wouldn't let me play. I did play AAU, yep. AAU when I was a kid didn't start until 13 years old, and I started playing as a 13-year-old. I played 13, 14, 15, 16 AAU, and then when I became a 17-year-old, I was asked to play for this team called the Ohio Warhawks that was out in Ohio. That's why they called the Ohio Warhawks. And we did not play AAU. That was, what was that called? Conning back? I don't know what that was called, but we played much older kids. I played against like 19-year-olds, maybe even 20-year-olds, it felt like. Before I keep going, again, if everyone could just give the video a thumbs up. We're going to get a whole lot of people in here tonight, hopefully, answer a bunch of questions. If anyone sees the super chat come by, just let me know in the comment section. Sometimes I miss those. Let's see. Hey, Matt, did you ever think Wake would get back to where they were when you were there? Best team they've basically ever had. This is much better than when I was there. When I was there my junior year, we were nationally ranked at one point, but Wake has pretty much been the number one team. Well, LSU was the number one team for a while. Wake was kind of two, and then Wake took over the number one spot, and then they just never gave it up. So they're on a different level this year. I don't know if I've ever seen a college team that's doing what they're doing offensively, on the mound. And, you know, I watch a lot of their games when they're on TV. There seems to be this, I know it's easy when you never lose, to have this really cool dynamic with your team, but they just seem to be a cohesive unit that really enjoys playing baseball. They play the right way. They play hard. They seem like good kids. Again, I'm judging a lot of this by just watching on TV. I do know a couple players on the team. We do have an anti-line baseball player on the team. And obviously I know the coaching staff because I coached for 1 year at Wake under Coach Walter, and Billy Salento was there, the hitting coach. So I do know a lot of guys down there. But they've done a great job. What's my thoughts on perfect game? So we play in perfect game tournaments. I've always thought perfect game tournaments are really good tournaments. So I have no problem with perfect game. Alan, you meant video game, Matt. I figured that. Yeah, I've been so busy. I coach high school baseball, and it's pretty much every day. And then obviously I run anti-line baseball, and I'm coaching our 13-year-olds, and now our 17-year-olds are starting. So I've been at a baseball game or practice pretty much every day since March 21st or something. I don't know if I've taken a day off since then. So, and then obviously I got to run the business. When I'm not at the field, I'm running the business. So I'm pretty tired right now. I would like a break, but I don't think I'll be getting one soon. Thoughts on Camwood for young softball players? We use a couple of their bats. Again, I don't think there's any perfect training tool. I think every tool can be used technically and correctly. What I think tools do a good job of, depending on the tool, there's some that I don't like. I don't use every training tool, but some give you a feel for, something, whatever it is you're trying to do. And again, that's one tool that we have used, but you can use it incorrectly. So it really depends on what you're working on. Yeah, Red Sox Yankees. I think many of you know I'm not a Red Sox fan, even though I'm from Boston. I grew up a huge fan, and I just kind of stopped following them when I got drafted, and so I don't really follow them any more closely than I do any other team in the big leagues. I just watch baseball because I enjoy baseball. What was my experience like playing for the Norfolk Tides? I enjoyed my time there. I didn't play well there. I didn't play great, which made my time not as fun as it probably could be. But I enjoyed the team. I enjoyed the city. I enjoyed the guys on the team, and the coaching staff. What do I think about fall ball for 9-year-olds? My son's 8, and he'll play fall ball this year. He'll turn 9 in the fall, so he'll play fall ball for us as a 9-year-old. So I don't have any issues with it. He plays most sports year round. I mean, he plays football in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. He plays baseball in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. He plays basketball all the time. So I don't have any issue with it. He enjoys playing. Do I think Dusty's managerial decision? Hold on one second, everyone. We got some super chats here. Mar15, without even reading the super chat, I know he's going to talk about poop in some way. He said, actually, hold on. I've got to do my super chat.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
So thank you, Mar. I'm literally having diarrhea right now, Mar says. I'm sorry to hear about that. Pepto-Bismol, does that help for that? I'm not sure what helps for that, but head to CVS. I'm sure you could find something that'll help. Oh, we've got another super chat from Joe Schmo. Hold on one sec.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Ahoy, Mr. Matt. Is there anything inherently wrong with Armbar? If so, what are the drawbacks? I struggle with this and don't know how to overcome it. So Armbar, if I can get it in, I don't know if I can. I'm going to try to get it in. I can't really give you a good shot of an armbar, but so armbar essentially, let me see if I slide back a little bit, like when this lead arm gets back here. Now, here's the thing. There's been a lot of great players that have played with this arm like really straight. Like Ken Griffey Jr. used to get this arm really straight. So I think I don't have an issue with this arm being the angle of this arm being rather straight. And actually, most good hitters get it pretty straight, and then as they start to turn, for me personally, I think the issue is when you get out this way, like your arm starts to work out over the plate, your hands start to work out over the plate. But if you begin to turn, and even if your arm's straight, but your barrel starts to turn and it stays close to your body and isn't going out this way, as you continue to turn here, now you're still from the inside, so you can still attack from the inside. So I don't get too concerned with the lead arm getting straight. Again, a lot of great hitters have done it. I get concerned when they make this move out away from their body. Yeah, I agree, Joseph. Only a few likes. Y'all get on that. Let's go, everybody. Like the video, please. That would be excellent. Carl Rawson, thank you so much for the super chat.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch. At the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
Okay, Carl, do you teach HLP like teacher, man, judges, coach? So I get this question a lot. So I've worked with a lot of different hitting coaches over my career. And so I use a bunch of different things that I've learned from dozens and dozens and dozens of coaches. I've talked before and made videos on this. The first hitting coach, I think, a couple people I should say. Sean Wooten's probably the first hitting coach I really worked with. He was actually a teammate of mine, then he became a hitting coach. He was the first one that really got me into swing mechanics. First one that really broke things down to me. I knew nothing about swing mechanics before then. A lot of people would be like, successful career. I didn't know anything about hitting when I played. I just hit. And then when I didn't hit well, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know when you're a player, and it's different now because now so much information is available, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, Instagram. There's all these different social media sites. When I played, there was none of that. When I was a player at the beginning of my career, I didn't even have like an iPhone. I couldn't record myself hit. There weren't iPads. When I was in college, our videos were on, like we literally used like the VHS tapes. That's how I watched video myself, and we really didn't watch video of ourselves. So Sean was the first one that kind of really tried to help me in 2008 when I was struggling, understand swing mechanics. I didn't know. So a lot of stuff that I talk about, I learned from him. Then I had other coaches. Jim Lefevre was really technical with the swing. I learned a lot from him. I worked with Tony Muser, that talked a lot about swing mechanics. Those were kind of the first three, I think, that really delved into it. All different stuff. So I kind of picked and choose the things I liked and things I didn't like. And anyways, long way of saying that the teacher man stuff, I'm not an expert in it. I've seen some of his videos because a lot of people send them to me. I've seen tons of different hitting coaches videos. I've seen things that he says that I like. I've seen things that he said that I'm like, I don't know about that. So I don't teach HLP. I don't even know what HLP is actually. So I don't know. I do know. I don't teach it, I don't think. But there are some things that he said that I've seen in videos that I've been like, ooh, I like the way he says that. It makes sense to me. Actually, the way I found out about him was a long time ago, maybe 5 years ago. He started commenting on a lot of my videos telling me I didn't know anything about hitting. So that's how I found out who he was. Okay. Anyways, we have some more super chats, but I'm going to get to some other questions real quick, and then I'll get to the super chats. Let's see. Colby Mead, Celtics fan. Matt, when do you think you would upload franchise again, and what was your favorite year of playing baseball? I'm not sure about franchise. This is the toughest year. I haven't picked up a video game in a long time because I've been so busy. I'm at the field every day, so it's tough for me to play right now, but hopefully I will again soon. What do you think is a good starting strategy for a 12U travel team and things to look out for during tryouts to maximize the lineup? Thanks, Matt. So when we're putting together teams, obviously you're looking for just ability and talent. Can the kid run fast? Can he throw fast? Can he swing the bat with bat speed? Does he have pretty solid mechanics? I mean, that's part of it. It's hard. Would I love to be able to see how a player can play the game? Yes. But the hard part about tryouts is that we had like 600 kids try out for our program last year. I can't physically we can't even do games at tryouts because how do you try out 600 players in a tryout that, like, how do you put them in a game? You can't. So there's a lot of players that try out that actually have pretty good skills, but they don't know how to play the game yet. And then you have to spend a lot of time in the season trying to teach them how to play the game. And talent or ability doesn't always equal in-game success. So a lot of times you learn that in the season. My next thing that I would look for, and again, sometimes it's tough, is like, will a player take the coaching? Because there's a lot, especially at 12U, that has to be learned. And we have a lot of players who apply what you say, and then there's some players where I've been for years now saying the same thing to them over and over again, and they don't listen at all. And they're not great at learning. So I try to figure that out in tryouts, but it can be difficult. So I try to talk to as many players as I can during every tryout to get to know them as a person, get to know their personality. Do I think that they'll, are they going to play hard? Are they going to listen? Are they going to learn? So those would be the big things. Let's see. LA fan here. Justin, thanks so much for hanging out tonight. This team needs a massive trade deadline or we're finished. LA fan. Which LA fan? A Dodgers fan or Angels fan? Thanks, Akuma. Let's see. What age should kids start pitching? Well, my son started pitching at 7, I believe. I think at 6 was coach pitch. Yeah, because 6 was coach pitch, 7 was pitching. Now he's 8 pitching. So, again, I don't know if that's the right age, but the tough part, I'll tell you real quick, and then I got to answer a few super chats. The tough part about kids pitching, because I go watch the games, is at 8 years old, even at 8, kids can't throw enough strikes, first off. They throw all over the place. Catchers can't catch. So, excuse me. So a lot of the game is a pitcher throwing a ball and a catcher missing it and having to run to the backstop. It feels like 50% of the game. So sometimes it can get tough to watch. So I don't know again, it probably depends on ground ball where everyone makes it. Is it more of a travel ball thing where you have a little bit higher level of player? So I know my son really enjoys pitching, but sometimes it can be tough to watch, and sometimes it's tough to hit because you don't get good pitchers to hit. So I actually think one at the backstop, and every time the ball goes by the catcher, have him have a ball, or have another coach have a ball. Ball goes by the catcher, coach throw the ball back out to the pitcher, get back on the mound, and another coach go and grab the ball. I swear that it feels like there's 30 minutes of gameplay where it's just the catcher running back and grabbing the ball after every single pass ball and wild pitch, which is like 50% of the pitches. Drives me crazy. Anyways, let's see. Jones Vaughn, thank you so much for the super chat.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board.
Why is it some big players don't hit for power? So being big doesn't technically mean you're going to hit for power. It does help. And typically smaller players aren't able to hit for power. But again, just because you're big doesn't technically mean that you're going to hit for power. How your body works is super important. So there's for instance, you can take just a big strong person, give them a bat, and they don't know how to use their body properly, then they're not going to create enough bat speed. Doesn't matter how big they are. So creating bat speed and creating, using your body in the right sequence, like that stuff. Again, being big and strong can help, but doesn't guarantee that you're gonna be able to create you're gonna have a good enough swing to create bat speed. It's the same reason why there's some small guys like a Mookie Betts can hit for power, even though he's very small, because he uses his body so well. And so that's one reason. The second thing is, it's not always just about how far you can hit it, but how often you can hit it far. So there's some big guys that can swing really, really fast, but they can't square the ball up enough to hit for power. So I think it's a combination of both of those things. We have another super chat.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
New England sports fan, thank you so much. Why 2 outs and a man on base? The base runner has to run. If they know it's an out, why not just wait on the base? I'm trying to make sure I understand your question. Why with 2 outs and a man on base, the base runner has to run? Well, if they don't run, then they're going to be out. Technically, if there's a man on third, if it's not a forced play, then I guess you don't have to run. But it doesn't make sense to not run, because it's either going to be fielded and thrown the first to get the batter runner out, or it's going to be a hit, and you're going to want to try to score or advance to the next base. So that would be my reason. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats. It doesn't look like I did. I think I got all of them. Hey Matt, is there a feeling of team chemistry in the minors, or are the guys more concerned with getting noticed? So a lot of the minors is for development, and most players are obviously trying to, 1, keep their job, and 2, get to the big leagues. So there is definitely a little bit more of a selfish, I don't want to say all players are selfish at the minor leagues, but players are definitely very concerned with doing well. If you asked every player, would you rather do really, really well and move up and go to the big leagues, or would you rather win a minor league championship? I would say 100% of the players are going to say, I want to do well and get moved up. With that being said, I've played on lots of minor league teams, and some teams have great chemistry and have great guys, and you really bond as a team, and you do want to win games. And there's been other teams I've been on that are not like that. Usually the higher you get, the less you feel of the team atmosphere. Like AAA I always thought was the worst, because a lot of players they're so close to the majors and they just want to go to the major leagues. Or they've been sent down from the major leagues to AAA and they're bitter and they hate being there. Because even though you're one step away from the big leagues at AAA and the big leagues are nothing alike when it comes to all the amenities, like the hotels, the travel, the pay, all those things couldn't be further away from each other, even though you're one step away from the big leagues. So it's very hard to go to the big leagues and then come back to the minor leagues. And my first year in AAA in 2008, I'm trying to think how I can say this nicely, because I did have a lot of good guys on the team and I had a lot of friends, but I wouldn't say the atmosphere was great. There's an older crowd there and a lot of people are pissed off, I guess, to put it as bluntly as possible. In the lower minor leagues, you do feel a bit more. There's younger players that haven't been around pro ball for a whole lot of time, guys that aren't salty and pissed off that they've been sent down or haven't been called up. With that being said, I've played on a lot of AAA teams. I've played on a couple of AAA teams with the Padres. I played in AAA with the Nationals, with the Orioles, with the Indians, with the Yankees. So I've been in AAA with 5 different teams, and for multiple years. And there's some AAA teams that I loved. I thought the guys were awesome. Let's see. Seems as though every team has multiple triple-digit pitchers. Used to be rare thoughts. Yep, definitely. I had this conversation today with some of our players in our 13-year-old team. They were talking to me about how hard I threw in high school, and then we got talking about that, and they were like, "Oh, that's back then that was really fast, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Well, it was not really fast, but it was. There weren't a ton of guys throwing, 95 back when I was in high school." And when I got into college, like, it was very rare. Now it's like you see it all over the place. And they made me feel good for a minute. They're like, "Well, you act like you played so long ago, coach." They're like, "You're not that old." And I'm like, "I was a freshman in high school in 1999. And they don't. Zach Ward goes hard. But it was like a handful of guys. And now it's like everyone coming out of the pen is throwing 98, 100. 101. It's crazy now. So my thoughts are that strength and conditioning has improved a lot. When I was playing, a lot of pitchers weren't training. It was almost like they're treated like, is it kitten gloves? I don't know why I'm having a mental block right now, but they didn't want them to do anything to get hurt. And then it transitioned over the last few years to be like, no, we're just going to throw the you-know-what out of the ball. We're going to train super hard. And there's pitching labs, and there's facilities around the country and around the world dedicated to just throwing harder. That guys are throwing harder. And that wasn't around when I was playing, so... Let's see here. What did I miss? Oh, I didn't miss anything. I thought I missed something. Braves fan telling the Mets to throw it again. Yeah, I made a video on that. Throw it again. That was interesting. Hey, who am I to say anything? Alonso's got 20-something home runs. I guess he can say whatever he wants. Do MLB hitters look out at the pitcher and generally stare where the ball is going to be released as opposed to the pitcher himself? I don't have a hard focus on the release point. I don't feel like I'm staring, sometimes they'll say find the box of the release point and look at that spot. I know where he's going to release it from, but I'm not staring at that spot. I'm looking out at the pitcher, and I see where he's releasing the ball from, but it is, in my opinion, not a hard stare at that one spot. So again, I do see that, but I see, you see a lot of things. You see the way, where the ball comes out. You see these, whether you know it or not, you start to see these subtle changes, whether it's, let's see, right here. If I have a baseball, how do I not have a baseball near me right now? There must be one somewhere. There's no baseball near me. Well, you see, if there was a ball here, you can see sometimes, you see more white on the ball, and then, depending, on breaking balls, sometimes you see, you'll see some, you'll see this. You'll see slight differences in, the wrist, how thick the wrist is on a fastball versus on a slider or curveball. The wrist gets skinnier, and you'll notice slight changes and variations of release point. Some guys throw a fastball, I'm trying to get in here, fastball here, and then breaking ball might be a little bit more over there. So you're kind of seeing all these things, but you're not just staring at the release point, again, in my opinion. Any tips for making that transition out of baseball and not feeling so sad about it? Good question, David. It's really interesting. When I got released in 2013, which was, I've been released a couple of times, but 2013 was the last time I played baseball. And when I got released, I kind of knew I was done playing. I couldn't stay healthy. I wasn't hitting well. And so I got released. And I was just kind of I'm done playing. And honestly, I didn't feel sad. I didn't really feel anything super negative. I didn't go home and cry and say I'm never playing again. I was like, I'm done, and that's it. And then a couple days later, I had horrible anxiety for lasted for quite some time. I never really experienced anxiety much in my entire life, except for a few times when I was really struggling. And I had this really bad, just like this weird anxiety for a while. If my wife was here, she'd remember more about how long it lasted. But my whole body got, I've talked about this in a few videos, my whole body got messed up. I think it was, even though I thought I wasn't like really sad, I didn't feel like I was sad. I think I knew, maybe even subconsciously, that what I had been doing for the previous, let's say, my junior year of high school is when I kind of said, like, I want to play baseball for a living. I was 16, and I stopped playing baseball at 28, 29, almost 30, somewhere around there. So for 12, 13, 14 years, let's say, where I was like full-time, everyday baseball. And then even before that, I played, since I was like probably 5. I think my body realized I'm not doing this anymore and I don't know what to do, even though I wasn't really thinking about it. And my whole body like got messed up. It's really, really interesting. So that took me a little while to get over. So any tips for transitioning out? Sorry, I didn't give any tips. I just told you how miserable I was. I don't know. What I did was I put all my focus into coaching and running international baseball. So luckily for me, I was able to stay in the game because the only things I really know is baseball and sports, and that's what I'm like passionate about. And so I was able to transition my energy towards that and put a lot of time into it. I feel like basically how I coach now and how I run the business, like our international baseball business, is exactly how I played. Like when I played, I get up in the morning and the first thing I think about is, trying to get better at baseball. And it was probably the last thing I thought about when I went to bed. And now it's like transition over to coaching. Like I'm always thinking about coaching, how can I be a better coach? Let's see what else. Hi, Takumi. I am not watching any TV right now. Nope. Oh, am I frozen? Looks like I might be. I got my phone on over here. Let's see. I put my kids to bed, or I put my son to bed. My wife put my daughter to bed, and then I just came right down here. Let's see. Jack Antonelli's on here. He said, Uncle John wants to know why high school players get mad when told to go to right field. Well, I will say, Andrew McKenzie, our right fielder at Bishop Fenwick, he doesn't seem to ever really get mad. So, younger players do seem to get mad, though, when you tell them to go to right field. I'm trying to think. High school players, I don't think anyone actually, this could just be our high school. No one, they definitely get mad when they don't play, though. And, I was watching some YouTube video, and it was Bobby Knight talking about how the bench, it's really funny the way he says it, and I can't really repeat exactly how he says it, but he said the bench is the best teaching tool for any player when they're doing something they're not supposed to do. And they said, the bench sends a signal to your butt or your ass, and then the ass or the butt sends a signal to your brain that tells you to stop doing whatever it is you were doing that got you put there. And it's funny how quickly players change and will stop doing whatever it is that they were doing. That's not always true, actually. Some guys go to the bench and they just continue to do the same thing all the time, and then they don't come off the bench. But I think I got off subject there for a second. I'll say in the minor leagues, you know what they said when we didn't like something? They say, you don't like it, play better. So, I like that saying. If you don't like it, play better. Let's see here. LSU's about to even it up with Kentucky. I haven't watched that game. I didn't even realize they're playing right now. Yeah, Wake Forest is just a machine right now. They're just crushing everyone. It seems like hitting is getting a lot more difficult in the late innings, 7th and 9th, because there are so many high velocity relievers, 96 to 105 with Nats movement agree. Yeah, 100% agree. You know, so many people are like, oh, hitters, you know, the launch angle swing, and that's why hitters can't hit, and hitters aren't as good as they used to be, and all this stuff. Newsflash, pitching is better than it's ever been. And there's going to be people who are like, no, they can't even command the ball. Like I said, the average velo in the big leagues goes up every single year. The relievers are all throwing high 90s. There's only, as a hitter, the harder a pitcher throws, obviously, the less reaction time you have. Breaking stuff becomes better. I know people are going to say Greg Maddux got everybody out, whatever. Okay, he had great command, and the umpires also gave, back then, they gave guys, or especially Maddux, like that much off the plate. But hitting has never been harder than it is today. I don't care what anyone says. Their pitchers, I mentioned this earlier, they're going into pitching labs and creating more movement with higher velocity on every pitch they have. So it is really difficult to hit. Harder now than ever before. I'm not saying hitters before couldn't. I'm not saying, you know, like sometimes I say that and everybody's like, Tony Gwynn would have hit. Well, yes, he was a great hitter. But hitting is more difficult now than ever before. And there are a lot of great hitters. I think people are way too fast to say hitters stink now. They don't stink. Any tips for arm angle if you have a two-way player that catches and also pitches? Yeah, it's a really good question. So, like, as a catcher, you're going to have a really kind of small arm circle as a catcher. As a pitcher, you're going to typically have a little bit of a longer arm circle. So it is difficult being a pitcher and a catcher and going back and forth and changing arm angles or, you know, arm circles is tough. I don't really know if I have any tips for you. I'm trying to think because I was an infielder, but actually when I was in the infield back when I pitched, I used to have a longer arm action. Then when I became a college infielder and a pro infielder, my arm, you know, I start to throw from a little bit lower 3/4 slot, and so I don't know how that would have translated over to the mound. So that's a great question. Listen, when you're catching, you've got to have a catcher. You've got to get rid of the ball quickly. So whether that's just taking extra reps, you know, if you do it enough, you can probably transition easily back and forth. But it's not easy. That's why a lot of players eventually don't pitch and catch. Let's see here. Where do I want to go next? No walks, no hits, no errors, no perfect game. How? You didn't mention hit by pitch, so I would say hit by pitch. Size of the ball is different from each level of baseball. You're talking about like each level of pro baseball or college. So the ball is the same size, but the seams are different. So it makes the ball feel very different. The seams have a huge effect on how the ball feels. And the major leagues is by far the most different. There's like, the seams are so low in a major league ball. Major league ball feels like a rock. It's really slick. That's why all of this stuff about like adding stuff to the ball and, you know, back a few years ago when they were, you know, using, you know, sticky stuff and all that. Major league baseballs are super slick. Pitchers are trying to command the ball better. And so they've always added something, whether that was rosin and sweat, some sunscreen, or then again, they started using even stickier stuff because the ball is super slick. In the minor leagues, the seams are bigger. It's easier to command. The ball doesn't slip out of your hand as much. In college, same thing. But I made 2 throwing errors in the major leagues, and both times the ball just slipped right out of my hand. I threw a ball. I have a video on YouTube against Milwaukee. I got the ball. I threw it. The ball just went and just flew out of my hands. I made a throwing error. Made a sliding play up the middle against the Dodgers, maybe. Sliding play. Done it a million times. Sliding play. Got the ball. Threw it. The second I threw it, I just felt the thing just slip out of my hand and took Adrian Gonzalez off the bag. I made that play a million times in the minors and stuff and feel fine with it. And then in the major leagues, literally, right when I threw it, I could just feel the ball slip. So, again, the balls aren't different sizes, but they feel much different because of the seams. Does it seem to you more players are injured while playing than 10 years ago? As a veteran of injuries, what do you think? Well, I think pitchers are injured more, but they're throwing harder, and the harder you throw, the more dangerous it is. So I don't know if players are injured more than they were before. I think that most teams probably will let a guy that's injured maybe take an extra day, or even put a guy on a short DL stint or IL stint now versus, a while ago. Probably the biggest reason is because of the investment in the player. So now that players get paid millions and millions of dollars, like go back 30 years ago versus now, or however long you want to go back. If you pay a player now $500 million and he has a sore hamstring or he has something, you might say, let's sit the guy down because we invested $500 million in him and we don't want him to get hurt worse. If you go back when players weren't making as much money, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, your hamstring hurts and you're making $40,000. Get the hell out there. Shut the hell up. So, it's just, I think money does play a role in that. How easy is it to get your hands on roids in the MLB? Steroids? I think it's probably easy to get steroids, whether in the major leagues or not. But they test for steroids in the major leagues. So even if you can get your hands on them, you have to figure out a way to not test positive for them. So I say this, a lot of people don't believe me. In all my time in Major League Baseball, I only think I knew of 3 people on steroids. One guy was very open about it, and actually towards the end of his career was no longer on them. And every time he would fly out to the warning track, he would always say, I need to get back on steroids. One guy asked me very openly at my locker. It was HGH. I don't know if you consider steroids. I'm not an expert in the area, but one guy asked me if I was interested in HGH, and I said no, thank you. And then there was another player that he wasn't actually as open about it, but he clearly had told some people because people knew that he had been on steroids. So, and that was it. I technically didn't play in the steroid era. I think I was kind of like at the end of it, because what was the steroid era? That was more like, was that late 90s, early 2000s? I made my debut in 2008, so I was just after that. But so I don't know what they were doing in like the 90s, but I didn't see players like injecting themselves in the clubhouse and stuff. Let's see here. We'll do a couple more questions. What does it feel like to hit a home run? I would say with a home run, well, first, what does it feel like physically off the bat? Oftentimes when you really square a ball up perfectly and flush it, it almost feels like you take a dry swing. Like you don't even feel the ball come off the bat. And then usually at least in my experience, it never really hit me until I got into the dugout after rounding the bases. So like, I don't know why that is, but you hit the ball and you're running the bases, and like obviously you're excited as you round the bases, and then when you hit a home plate and then you come into the dugout, that's when I'm always like, I just hit a home run. And I didn't hit a ton of them, so maybe that's why. So yeah, I guess in the moment happened. It's like in old school when Will Ferrell gives that talk and then says, "What happened? I blacked out." A lot of times it feels like that when you, at least for me, you almost feel like you black out for a second and then you get in the dugout and you're like, well, that feels good. It's the same thing with anything. Like anytime you smoke a ball in the gap, I smoke a ball, I'm flying around the base, I get to second base, and then all of a sudden, then when I get back to the bag, then I start to feel good about what I just did. How to control your nerves when breathing. A lot of it comes down to, or how to control your nerves when batting. A lot of it comes down to breathing. So I did the same routine every single time, every at bat that I've really ever had. I put my right foot in the batter's box. I take the bat and I look at the bat. And I look at like the label of the bat, and I take in a deep breath in through my nose, ready to hit. So I do that every time, and that taking a deep breath and slowing down your breathing helps control your nerves. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And then to just focus on something like really, really simple. We called it a final thought, but like something as easy as like quick hands, or, let's just stick with quick hands is a good one. Like, so take a deep breath. I waggle the bat a few times when I get ready to hit, and then I'm just kind of thinking of like quick hands, or something like, a lot of times I would think about like just drive a ball off the pitcher's face, like try to hit him right in the forehead or off the hat. And that'll help calm your nerves as well. Because players get nervous a lot of times when they're thinking about, what previously happened, or they're thinking about the future, like, oh, if I don't get a hit here, I'm going to be 0 for 5 today. And sometimes that does creep into your thought process, and you just got to kind of step out and take a deep breath and go through the whole routine again. But that's the biggest thing. I think breathing is a big part of it. A lot of players, the game starts going really fast when you're doing poorly, and players don't realize it, but they're either breathing really fast or they're holding their breath. John Goulis. I can't see your picture. Is that you in your Dolphins golf attire right there? The picture's very small, but it looks like it might be Dolphins. Which Major League ballparks had the best tasting hot dogs? That's a good question. So I've only been to, this is interesting, I've played in a lot more Major League parks than I've watched games in. So I've had a Fenway Frank, solid hot dog. Trying to think where else I've had hot dogs. I really haven't gone to a whole lot of stadiums and ate. And after games, they don't give you, you never get a choice of a hot dog at a ballpark. So I will say, I've made a video on this. The worst food on the road is Dodger Stadium for a player. Terrible food on the road or after games. And then the best food was probably, trying to think what was the best food. Milwaukee wasn't bad. I don't know what the best food was. There was no food other than at home. Food at home is always the best. Like Petco, we had really good food. You could just go into the kitchen and just ask anything to be made. I'm a real picky eater. I eat a lot of hamburgers, so I would usually go in and just ask for them to make me a hamburger or make me a chicken sandwich. Let's see. Didn't have the finances for a son to play with Wow Factor 16U this summer. After asked, hope it's true. Scouts find talent even if school and summer local leagues. We may play fall travel at Junior Legion. Yeah. So. Did Wow Factor reach out to you, Brian, or to you about your son? That'd be interesting. Shoot me an email and let me know how that works. Because I've seen a lot of Wow Factor stuff, and I was wondering how. It seems like they have players from all over the place. Shoot me an email, matt@antonlightbaseball.com. I'm interested to hear. So, and maybe I can go more in depth with this answer. I'll make it semi-quick here. You don't have to play travel ball to get recruited. It is just another. It's another way that you can, but it's not the only way. So you can get recruited by going to college camps. You can get recruited by going to showcases. You can get recruited by playing travel ball. You can get recruited by just making YouTube videos. We've had players, Sean Sullivan right now, who is pitching for Wake Forest, who has been one of the best pitchers in the country. When he played for us, he got probably 20 scholarship offers based off of a bullpen. First bullpen of the summer. I just recorded, and we record all of our games, but I recorded this first bullpen session, and he was nasty in it. And I sent it to like 50 colleges, and everyone loved it, and a lot of them offered scholarships, literally based on a video. So a little bit easier for pitchers because they can see how hard you're throwing. They can basically look at the video and know what you're going to look like in a game. Sometimes hitting is a reactive. Hitting is reactive, pitching is proactive. So as a hitter, if you just hit BP really well, it tells us you have a good swing. How's your pitch recognition? Can you square the ball up in a game? Those things are difficult. A lot of times people have to see you in person to do that. But with pitchers, a lot of times, and there are things in the game, obviously, that are different than a bullpen, but it's a little bit easier for pitchers to get recruited through video. But I would definitely have video of him, and I'd be sending that out to schools. Philly. So actually, Philly, I've watched the game in Philly, and what did I get there? I think I got like chicken fingers, which is one of my favorite foods. What's my favorite? Matt, you eat lots of meat. What's your favorite? Well, I had a roast beef sandwich tonight for dinner. A good steak is really good. Lobster is really good. I mean, I eat chicken or steak every day. Or seafood, shrimp. I eat shrimp like three, 4 times a week probably. So I don't know what my favorite is. I like all of that. At 16U competitive travel ball, should you be playing people? Should you be playing people for playing time? Did you mean paying people for playing time? Here's my thoughts. In order to get recruited, you have to play, obviously. So you don't want to go someplace where you're just going to sit on the bench and never play. But you also probably don't want to be the best player on your team. You want to play on a team that's a good team, that has lots of good players. The more good players you have on the team, the more people are going to come watch you play. And so what happens a lot is, let's say you have a pitcher on your team that's getting recruited and you're a hitter. Well, the college comes to watch the pitcher, and they're watching the pitcher, but they also will see you when you get up and smoke a double in the gap, or when you make a really nice play, or you show your speed or whatever. So they might not come to watch you, but they might leave giving you an offer, or they might leave more impressed with you. That happens to a lot of players. And as a college coach, I recruited, and a lot of times I would go to a game to watch a certain player, and someone else would stand out. And I'd be like, I like that guy more than this guy. So that's happened multiple times. I've gone to see certain players and walked away and liked someone else more. So So if you're the only good player on your team, the chances of someone coming to watch someone else on your team is probably not very good. Also, if you're a really good team, you're probably going to play in some good tournaments that are playing other good teams. So someone might come to watch the other team play, and now they have a chance to watch you play. So hopefully that makes sense. Sorry, the questions are going pretty quick here. Who is your father's favorite umpire? None of them. He hates them all. It's funny, every time I go to a game, everybody's like, like I'll go talk to the umpire before the game, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're Matt, yeah. Oh, I love your father. Yeah, I've umpired for him so many times. And I'm like, really? How many times have you thrown him out? And they're like, 7. I'm like, oh, yeah. And he's your best friend. You love him. Yeah, he's a great guy. Then why'd you throw him out 7 times? It's really interesting. He's the only coach ever that gets thrown out every game, yet every umpire loves him. I don't know how that happens. Hey, Matt, I played for Fairhaven. It was a great game. Fenwick has some serious talent. Hey, Thomas. That was a really good game, and congrats on beating us. And we followed you guys. That next game against Ashland, it was, right? Seemed like it was a really, really close game. So you guys got a good team, and we could not. All right, a few more questions, and I'm going to go to bed because I've gotten up at like 6 or 5:45 the last couple of days. Do you ever check to see what is the player's dominant eye? I don't personally, but that's something interesting that I don't, but I don't know much in that area. Like, if I find out what eye their dominant eye is, I don't know yet. I couldn't tell you what information that gives me, So, I'll look into that more. Is it better to hydrate the day before, or is the morning of sufficient? To that either. I do both. I tell our players to make sure they drink a lot of water before, and I just try to stay hydrated all the time. So like, I'm not gonna purposely not drink water one day and say, well, I don't have a game till tomorrow, so I don't have to drink today. I try to drink water. I drink water with every meal. So that's all I really drink. I drink water for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. First thing I do when I wake up is I get a big thing of water and I drink it right away, just to start the day off hydrated, and then I just continue to drink water throughout the day. Even though I don't play anymore, I just feel better when I'm hydrated. Like today, I noticed we played. It was hot today for the first time in a while, and I don't like the sun, so I wear pants. I wear a long sleeve shirt, and I keep my hood up even in the sun, even in the hot days, because I'm just trying to protect my skin. You can see actually this right here on my eye. That is apparently from the sun, and my ears got beat up pretty bad when I was playing from the sun. So I try to cover up as much as I can, and I didn't drink enough water today. I was dehydrated after the game. I got a terrible headache, and if I don't drink a lot of water, if I don't drink enough water, I always get a headache. So first thing I did, I got home, drank a ton of water, and within like an hour or so, my headache went away. Hi, Kevin. I do video analysis. I have a bunch of them going on right now. If you're interested in one, just shoot me an email, matt@ansellinebaseball.com. I've been struggling to get through all of them because I have so many right now, but I will do my best. A little much to start worrying the day before. Yeah, like I wouldn't worry about it. I think if you make drinking water part of your day, then you don't ever have to worry about it. You'll never say like, oh no, I'm not hydrated. I need to start hydrating. I would just drink water. What are my thoughts on travel ball? I own a travel ball program, so I wouldn't have a program if I didn't think it was valuable. I played travel ball when I was younger. I think it was one of the more important things I did as a player. I think you want to play with the best players you can play and against the best players you can play with, and not to say that travel ball is the only way to do that, but I do think it is a way to do that. Travel ball has changed a lot over the last probably 5 to 10 years, where almost everyone plays travel ball now. So now it's like not just about playing travel ball, it's about playing the right travel ball. So, I mean, everybody, if you can afford to pay the tuition, you can play travel ball now. So just playing travel ball is not going to be beneficial. You have to play the right travel ball, and that's playing for the right organization. Lots of good ones. You got to do your research and find out which organizations are going to help you become the best player possible. Like where you're going to get good practices, where you're going to get good coaching. The issue with having so much travel ball, there's not enough good coaches. There's not enough good competition. So one of the reasons travel ball was so great when I was younger is because there was only a few teams, and those teams, the coaches in those teams were all really, really good coaches. Like some of the best coaches I had when I was younger were from my travel ball teams. And but now that there's 400,000 travel ball teams, there's not that many good coaches. So you could play travel ball and just get, I don't want to just say a dad because I'm a dad. So if I was coaching, someone says, oh, they're just a dad coaching. But you could just randomly just get a random player's dad as your coach that played soccer and didn't play baseball, but, wanted to coach. And I don't know how much better that's going to get you. So. What's up, Christian? Let's see. How's your son doing? Do you have him playing rec or travel? My son's doing well, thank you. He's playing just for his local town ball league. He's 8 right now, so we don't even have 8U travel ball. So we do have 9U. Not for us, not for Anthony Baseball, but there is 9U travel ball around here. But I think he's going to probably play in our program next year, probably play as a 10U if he is good enough to play. So we'll see how he does at trial. We have tryouts coming up in another week or so. I'm actually going to put out the tryout dates tomorrow for our 10U, 11U, and 12U teams. So we'll let him try out, see how he is. If he stinks, he won't play. If he's good, then he can play. Best advice for a 9-year-old player is a lot of potential, what to focus on, try to get on a good travel team. Yeah, same thing. So as a 9-year-old, well, I'll tell you, my son's 8, right? So I'm in the same boat. He's going to be 9 in September. So first thing is I want to make sure he's having fun. I'm not going to make it like it's a job or be like, I have to do this because he needs to play in the big leagues or get a college scholarship. I'm going to let him do what he wants to do. But he's pretty competitive. I'm pretty sure he's already said he wants to play for our program. The benefits of that, nothing against local town teams or anything like that. But I know that, for instance, if he's able to play in our program, I know the competition is going to be a little bit better. He's going to play with and against better players, which is going to push him to be better. So I always say a big part of my development was playing with good players. Against also, but with I was playing and I wanted to play shortstop and they told me you're not good enough, you have to go to second base. That pissed me off. That pisses me off. So that makes me say I need to work harder to play shortstop. I mean, I guess some people might just go cry and moan and say that, you know, the coach doesn't like me and it's politics and all that stuff. But I said I need to practice more to be better than that kid. And then the next year, they moved me to third base. And I played third base. I was fine playing third base, but I was saying I'm still pissed because I want to play shortstop. So I need to practice harder. And then, you know, you practice harder and then eventually I got a chance to go back to shortstop. But, you know, if I'm playing on a team where I'm just the best player and I just like, I'm playing shortstop because I'm the best player here and nobody's pushing me, do I have the incentive to work as hard as I need to? If to really develop? Probably not. I mean, maybe some guys can, but I think competition, the guys you're playing against and the guys you're competing with is what helps players get really, really good. So that's why I think the simplest thing is play with and against the best players you can play with and against. And then just make sure he's having fun. Jaylen Brown, I don't know. I've gone back and forth with this. Like, am I lagging again? He's young. What is he? 26? Something like that. I don't even know if he's that old. Might be younger than that. Might be 25. In some ways, I'm like, man, he's so young, and he is talented, and he's going to keep getting better. But then in other ways, like, I don't know, just watching the playoffs, watching him turn the ball over a whole lot, and, you know, watching the Celtics the last couple of years now get really close, but not be able to get it done. I'm like, I don't know. But if you get rid of him, who do you get? There's not like a whole lot of mid 20-year-olds that are great players that you can get. So when you have one, you just let him go. And like I said, what are you going to get in return? Do I think Acuna goes 40-60 this year? 40-60 is pretty hard. I don't know what his current stats are, but I mean, hell, 40-40 is really, really hard. So 40-60 is crazy hard. You know. How many home runs he had right now? I would guess he might fall short of 40 home runs. All right, John. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks, Bull. All right, let's go like a couple more questions. We want to scroll down here real quick. And everyone keeps talking about Jacob, but I don't see any Jacob questions in here, although there's a lot of questions coming through. Let's see. What if your son sucks? Then, well, that's a good question. He could. I have no idea. I would try to help him do better. Ultimately, I think, it comes down to like the player. Does the player want to do really well or not? If he wants to do really well, then I can help push him and help him get better. I think it can really help him. If the player doesn't want to, then there's only so much that I can do to help that. So, you know, like I know his personality, and I know me and him are pretty similar. He seems to he loves sports. He loves baseball, basketball, football, every sport, kind of like I did. And he's very competitive, and he wants to be really, really good. So in those ways, like, we're pretty similar. We're a little bit different personality-wise, but so I have a feeling he's going to want to work hard, and he's going to want to be good. Yeah, but if he just stinks for whatever reason, he just stinks, and I can't help him, then, you know, then he does. What am I going to do? And if he said to me, like, you know what, I want to be a writer. I don't want to play sports. I want to be a writer. That's what I really like. I'd be like, okay, cool. Be a writer. Like, I don't think I'm gonna. being a parent's really interesting. I was actually talking to my wife about this a few days ago. Like, when you go watch kids play, like, you know, a kid will strike out, and you can see their parents get like so like, oh no, like they take it so hard. It almost looks like they struck out. And then like when my son like on Wednesday, he usually pitches really well. On Wednesday, he was not pitching as well as he normally does. So I was sitting there, I was watching him, and I was just like, like, kind of stinks tonight. And I was like, oh, you know, like, his wind-up's a little different. Like, he's kind of rushing. Wasn't throwing hard. So I was sitting out there, and I was like, something's off, something's different. But never once when he threw like a wild pitch did I go like, oh my God, no, he threw, oh geez, oh. Like, I just watched the game. And I watched it, and, you know, he got guys out, and he let up maybe a hit, and he threw some wild pitches, he gave up a run, and I don't know. I was like, maybe that's because I played so much that I'm like, I've already played, I don't need to play anymore. He can play. Like, it doesn't bother me that when he strikes out, I'm not like, oh, how are you striking out? It's like, he struck out. Maybe we'll get a hit next time. I don't know. And so. And he has pretty good, like, he has a good attitude too. I wasn't at the game on Saturday, but apparently he pitched in their like I don't know, AA championship game or something. They ended up winning. I guess he did pretty well. And my wife was like, he gave up a hit to the first pitch of the game. He doesn't give up many hits, but the first pitch of the game, the kid hit it inside the park, home run on him. And then Laura can tell you the story. She's right there. Laura, you want to tell a story quick? About how you were impressed with Maddie's composure on the mound on Saturday? Can I give him a breakdown? No, I'm being serious. She wants me to tell it, so. Yeah, so I got home, I had a game. I had 4 games, and she was like, I was really proud of Maddie today. She's like, you know, first at bat, his first pitch of the game got hit by inside the park home run. That's never happened to him before. And then the next kid got a hit? Next kid got a double, and then he struck out like the next. And then he threw 9 straight strikes and struck out the next 3 or something like that.
No, I think the next kid just hit like a little blooper and then just kind of like got thrown out of the field. But then he struck out the next.
Got it. So the next kid hit a blooper, then made some errors or whatever. So, anyways, he gave up like a couple runs. Oh, he gave up 3 runs. Okay, so he gave up 3 runs, and then he just went like strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, strike 1, strike 2. So he threw 9 straight strikes and struck him out and just ran out the field. Right. Got it. Right. Yeah. And Laura was like, yeah, she was like, I was really proud of his composure and how it doesn't bother him. He's like, that's really good. Because a lot of kids like, obviously we see it all the time. Kids like bawl when they give up a hit or whatever. And he's just like, I don't give a shit. And so he bounced back really well. And we were talking about it. I'm like, yeah, because he's, you know, he's really, the good thing is like, he's not cocky, but he's real confident. And I'm like, you know, good players sometimes, like, they're just like, not 8-year-olds usually, but like good players, they give up hits and they're like, you know, I don't care, I'm going to get the next 3 guys out. So I said to Maddie afterwards, I was like, Maddie, I'm like, Mommy said that you did really well today. You gave up a couple hits early, but you bounced back, whatever. And he was like, yeah. He was like, I don't care. I gave up the hits. I just got the ball. And I was like, I'm going to strike you out. And he's like, and then I just was like, I'm going to strike you. I don't know why I'm on this story, but I thought it was interesting. Did being sent down to lower league ever affect your mental health? No, you know what affected my mental health? Never really getting sent down, but just struggling. That's probably the hard part. Not playing well, like 2008 was super tough year mentally for me. And then 2000 struggling. I was injured a lot and struggling, and I just mentally I was just basically done in 2012. the way I kind of felt, I said, I think that in your life you're given a certain amount of outs. Like when you hit the ball and you get out, there's a certain amount of those. And I had reached my limit of how many times I could get out. And I mentally just lost it. There was one game, I came into the clubhouse, so I got out. We were playing at home in Norfolk. I got out. I went up into the clubhouse. I was DHing this day. And I went into the batting cage, and there was like a bucket of like 1,000 balls in there. And I took the balls, and I just started throwing them 1,000 miles an hour, trying to throw my arm out because I was so mad. And shortly after that, I was designated for assignment, and I got picked up by the Yankees. But I was just so sick of getting out, and I just kind of like lost it that one day. And then I came home, I went to my apartment, I called Laura, and I was like, I'm just driving home. I was like, I've had enough. I can't freaking do this. I get out too much. I freaking stink. And then she gave me like that, you're not a quitter, Matt. You can't quit. You gotta keep playing. And so I didn't quit, but... let's see. Hey, Pat, what's going on? What's up, Joe? Rex, does Matty throw fuel? Yeah, he throws pretty hard. He does throw pretty fast. One of the hardest things with him pitching is a lot of times the catchers tell him to not throw hard because it hurts their hands. So then, then sometimes he will throw it easy. So I don't give the best advice with that. He did say to me, he said, my catcher told me not to throw hard. And I said, no. I'm like, you throw it through the catcher's chest. Like, they call him a catcher for a reason. So he's going to either catch the ball or they're going to put someone else back there. So I don't know if that was good advice or not. But I said, don't let the catcher tell you how hard to throw the ball. You just tell him to catch it. You're 6 feet tall in high school. What weight should you be at? Well, it depends, I guess, what age you are too, like, and what position, I guess, also. But everyone's different. Like, I couldn't gain weight really until probably like going into my senior years when I really started to gain weight. Now, I also started to lift a lot more. So I don't know if the lifting part is what really added a lot of the weight, or maybe just, I finally reached that point where I was able to put on weight. But I put on a lot of weight my senior year of high school, and then I continued to put on weight every year after that. But before then, I was really skinny. I do think the weight room is huge, though. Like, almost instantly when I started to work out, I put on weight, like a good amount of weight. And if you look at my freshman and even sophomore year of high school pictures, like my arms are like this thick. And then, my senior year, my arms are way bigger, but I started working out. How do you translate the hitting drills and coiling and stuff into the game? So you got to do it so much in the drills that it becomes second nature, and then you're going to progress up. So you're going to start off with like low difficulty drills. So that might be, I don't know why my nose is so itchy right now. So that might be like off the bag. If you watch our videos, we use a bag. So we hit off the bag, and then we'll hit off the tee, and then we'll hit off soft toss, and then we'll hit off angle toss, and then front toss, and then batting practice and machine. And so like you're progressing through this from low difficulty to more difficulty. So like you can't just, and you got to do it a lot, so that you can't just do the drill off the bag and think it's going to happen in the game. Not going to happen. 2010, in the offseason 2010, it took me 4 or 5 months to change my swing, and I was 20-something years old and had just been in the major leagues. So, think about that. And then like some kids come in and they think they're going to do a 60-minute lesson and they're going to change their swing and be awesome. It's like, that's not how it works. So I always tell everybody, which is a bad business model probably, but I tell people, like, you need to listen to what I'm saying, learn the drills, and then you have to go do them thousands and thousands and thousands of times. You don't have to come see me and do them thousands of times, because you can't come and see me that much. I mean, I guess technically, no, you can't because I don't do that many lessons. I haven't done a lesson in like months and months and months. I've been so busy. But like in the winter where I'm doing lessons all the time, first, I don't have enough time. Second of all, it makes no sense to spend that much money doing that many lessons. So just learn what I'm telling you, the drills, the techniques, and then you have to go do them a lot. And some people think like a lot is like once a week. No, that's not going to work. Like I said, I was playing at the high months, and then I went to spring training 2010 and had a great spring training. It took me a whole off season to change my swing. These kids are 9. I don't know what that's in reference to. Well, I think Wake Forest is probably the most talented team, or one of the most talented. Listen, when you go to the World Series, there's going to be 8 super talented teams. And the difference between the best team and like the 8th best team is probably not going to be a ton. So like you're going to have to play really good baseball. I think Wake Forest has an advantage because I think they have... I think that they're the most talented team. Their pitching is amazing and their offense is ridiculous. And although the other 8 teams are all going to be really good as well, I don't know if anyone has the combination of hitting and pitching that they do. With that being said, every year, I don't know the last time the number 1 seed won the whole thing, but baseball is really tough. And in these type of things, like you can have a bad day or two, you know? So they might be the best team and still might not win the whole thing. Have I ever watched Breaking Bad? Yeah, I love it. Breaking Bad is my favorite show of all time. Yeah, so you have to, talking about how you're able to do it when you're thinking about it, you have to do it so much and then do it in an environment. So that might mean putting a pitching machine on 95 miles an hour or having someone throw live batting practice to you. And then you need to be able to do it in that situation without thinking about it. And then you're ready for the game. And then again, the only way you do that is you have to do it so much that that's like the only way you know how to do it. Like what's the saying? You don't do it until you get it right. You do it until you can't get it wrong. So you can't just do it till you do it. You have to do it until you can't. How do you train yourself to not swing so hard in the games that you pull off the ball? It could be. I had this talk with a player today because they keep pulling off everything, and I'm trying to explain to them how to stay on the ball. You know, I realize this is, I guess, the value of just coaching a lot of different kids at a lot of different ages. Like, you know, I said stuff today, like one kid was early and I said, you've got to think about driving the ball through the second baseman's head as you're hitting. And then I said, I don't know what we were talking about something, and I said, listen, this at bat, do me a favor. I said, just try to hit the ball off the pitcher. Like, try to hit a line drive off the pitcher. And to me, that sounds like pretty simple, right? I'm just going to try to hit the ball off the pitcher. And he said, what do you mean? How do I do that? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, try to hit the ball off the pitcher. And he was like, how do I do that? And I was sitting there, I'm like, well, you don't physically have to hit it off the pitcher. I just want your thought to be, I'm going to hit the ball like in the middle of the field. And then he said like, well, how do I do that? And then I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy jeez. So I'm like, okay, your contact point's out here. I'm like, I want you to feel in your mind like the ball is literally going to basically, you're going to let the ball come to like the midline of your body. And that is where you're going to hit it. Now, no one's going to hit it that deep. And this is what I'm thinking in my head. No one's going to hit it that deep. But I want you to feel like you're going to hit the ball, basically let the ball travel the midline of your body. Because when he just thinks hit, he wants to hit the ball 8 feet in front of him. And he caps everything and he's off everything. And he literally is swinging and the ball's not even there yet. So I'm trying to tell him all these different ways to allow the ball to travel. And I talk about keep shifting your sights more and more to the opposite field to get deeper. Like we're going over all these things, and again, like the hard part is sometimes for me, it's I've played a lot and I'm older, so this makes sense. But for a 13-year-old, sometimes they're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So we would sit there and I got to think of like 12 different ways to say the same thing. I'm just trying to say it. I keep saying different things to say, okay, maybe this will work. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, scratch that. Think about it this way. I don't know how to do that. Okay, scratch that. Think about it this way. Just keep trying to come up with new ways to say it. Florida, Texas, or California? What's that for? For like best baseball? Well, those are all three great states. Or you're talking about, oh, not technically. I mean, those are all great baseball states. Oh, I see it now. What state has produced the best young talent? Yeah, I mean, any southern state. Like Georgia's great, obviously. Florida's great. Texas great. California's great. I mean, those states you can all play. You can play baseball year round. Like Massachusetts, we're playing baseball like 4 months out of the year. You know, we're basically like April, May, June, and July. The seasons typically wrap up around August. And even in April, a lot of times, like in April, you're playing. We don't really get playing like real baseball weather games until the middle of May. And sometimes it's even freezing cold then. Red Dead Redemption 2, I haven't played that in a long time. What's my opinion on LSU baseball? I think they're super talented. I think they've got the best pitcher in the country and the best hitter in the country. Yeah, North Carolina's got good baseball too. Any place down south. I don't know if North Carolina is as good as Georgia and Florida and Texas, but good baseball there. What's your favorite college baseball team? Mine would be Wake Forest just because I went there. Best way to respectfully tell an umpire his zone is terrible and he's screwing us over. Listen, I'm in the absolute minority in this. Minority. I almost never yell at the umpire for their strike zone. And I know that's like every game I hear coaches yelling at umpires about their strike zone. I almost never, ever, ever do. I can literally think, now I coach high school, travel ball. In travel ball, I never yell about the zones because the zones are always bad. All right, so listen, they're not full-time umpires. They're literally like, most umpires are teachers that are umpiring after they get out of school, or I don't know, a plumber that is umpiring. So like, I don't expect them to be really, really good. And I'm not gonna scream and yell because I know they're gonna. I don't want to say they stink. I know they're not gonna be great. They're not major league umpires. I mean, hell, people watch major league umpires on TV and scream and yell at them, and those are professionals. So I know they're gonna stink. But I almost never ever yell because I always just say, if they're bad for us, they're gonna be bad for the other team. I'm not gonna sit there and scream all day about it because it ain't gonna make the guy any better. Now, if I'm trying to think. I think only 2 times in high school. And high school is different because high school is like, summer ball a lot of time is about, or travel ball is about development. And so I'm not on the umpires really ever and that stuff. High school, I think I've only yelled at umpires 2 times. One time this year against, I believe it was Arlington Catholic. And the only reason was I legitimately felt like our zone was like we were really getting squeezed, and I always lean on it's even. They'll miss a couple for us, they'll miss a couple for them, and I did not feel that at a point, and I actually felt like the umpire was purposely doing it against us. That doesn't happen a lot either, but that's just the feeling I got. And so I did yell at him that game. And I wouldn't even say yell at him. I just told him he was bad. I just said that was the exact same pitch in the last inning that was called strikes. And he snapped right over to me and said, not even close. And I said, no, it is. I'm standing right here. I'm standing 10, 15 feet from the plate. 100% I know it. And I asked the catcher, and he said, yes, 100%, you're right. So I yelled at him then, and then the only other time was last year against Arlington Catholic, actually. Both games against Arlington Catholic. It's weird that this happened. Last year, the guy's strike zone was like this big in the first inning. Literally this big in a high school game. And we let up like 6 runs in the first inning. He would not call a strike. Wouldn't do it. So I went out and called time, and I waited for him to walk out to me, and then I turned around and I said, this ain't the effing big leagues. Open up your zone. And he didn't even say one word at me. He just looked at me. And then I walked back to the bench, and the zone got big, like really big all of a sudden. It went from this big to like a normal high school zone. I don't know what his problem was. But those are the only 2 times I've yelled at an umpire for calls. This year they yelled at me. Last year they didn't say a word to me. He just opened the zone up and had a normal zone, and then I was happy. But we still lost. We gave up like 6 runs in the first inning. So. Parker, thank you so much for the super chat.
The ball hit high and deep. Catch at the wall. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
All right, Teacher Man Swing teaching is the truth. Yeah, I mean, people reach out to me all the time about him. Again, I've never worked with him. I've heard people love his stuff. I've heard people not. That's with everything. Some people say that I know what I'm talking about. Some people say I'm an idiot. So. Good question. I'd never yell, but have you ever had a calm conversation with an umpire that was productive? So I've talked to umpires like today. I mean, I'm not saying I don't ever talk to the umpire, or I don't yell at the umpires, but I've definitely talked to them. Like today, for instance, in our game, left fielder goes back for a ball. He kind of like dives, and ball goes in his glove, and then as he comes to the ground, it goes in for a split second. And now I'm coaching third, so I have a perfect view of him. But the way it happened kind of behind them, so the home plate umpire couldn't see the ball on the ground. So he goes, he's out. So I run over to him, and I said very calmly, I said, he dropped the ball. I'm standing right here, I have a really good angle. I said, I know you don't have a good angle. I said, but can we check with the first base umpire? Because I know he dropped the ball, and he probably has a better angle than you. And he said, absolutely. So they came over, he checked, and the first base umpire said, I didn't have a good angle on it either. And he was actually watching the runner. He was watching the base runner. So he didn't even see out there. And so I just talked to the umpire very calmly, and I just said he dropped the ball. And the umpire actually apologized, and he said, I'm sorry, but I don't have a good angle on that. I couldn't see the ball on the ground. So I had a nice calm conversation with him. And as far as the zone, there's been times where I haven't yelled at anybody, but I've gone to umpires and said, are you calling those balls down? Yes, I'm calling them down. I'm like, those balls aren't down. Yes, they are, Matt. They're not down. They're strikes. And they say, well, I have them as a strike. I have them as a ball. I said, okay. I mean, yeah, I've had that conversation. Should you start hitting the gym your freshman year for baseball? I would. I would start lifting basically when you get into high school. I think is a good age to start working out. Start strength training. You can even do it earlier, but I think high school is a good age. Would I ever beat up an umpire? No. I keep saying I'm not going to answer any more questions, but then I keep answering questions. When it comes to umpires, One thing I hate, and I try to do this as much as I possibly can, I hate making excuses. So, like, I try not to ever get on the umpire. I purposely try to not get on the umpires because what I notice happens a lot is when a coach gets on the umpires, the players start to get on the umpires, or the players build in this excuse that, oh, the umpires are against us and we have no shot today because the umpires don't like us, or our zone's bigger than theirs, and so then they start making excuses. So I don't ever want any excuses. So I purposely try as hard as I can to not bring attention to the zone, not make any excuses. If a player is making excuses about the zone, we have to adjust to the zone. That's the zone. We have to make an adjustment. It's getting called both ways. Again, that's how I almost always play it. I have to say something and then I do. But it's very rare. Like in that 6-0 game, there came a point where I was like, okay, this has gone beyond like this is messed up. And I have to say something. Dayton, that made me laugh. How do you deal with playing with a bad high school team? Try to lead by example. If you're a vocal leader, you can lead vocally too. But I mean, there's not. What are your options? You have to finish the season. You're not going to leave. Frankie, cornball. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what a cornball is, but I don't know what you're talking about. Is it weird to hit against side armors? Yep, sometimes it can be weird just because you don't see it a lot. How awkward is the "you're being sent down" conversation with your MLB manager? I've actually, I've never really got sent down. The only time I've ever gotten sent down is in Major League Spring Training. I've been sent to AAA in spring training. But I've never been sent down in the regular season. I've been released, which isn't sent down. It's just you don't have a job anymore. So, and those conversations are never very awkward. It's always like super professional. And it's not coming, the manager isn't making the decision. It's coming from the front office. So, they're just relaying the message. And a lot of times they're pretty positive and they say, keep your head up and, keep working hard. You're going to be a good player. Usually. Matt, what do I think of armchair umpires? Yeah, I think umpiring is difficult. I think people make umpiring seem like it's super easy. I know my dad, for one, will say, like, it's not that difficult. Again, I do think some umpires do stink, but they're going to stink for both teams, so. Let's see. When looking for a building for your indoor facility, what was the process like? We're having trouble finding something that will work and we can't afford it built from scratch. Bad news. I looked for a building for our program for like 7 years. So it took forever. And I couldn't find one that worked. And the ones I did find that worked, we couldn't come to terms on how much rent should be paid. And then one time there was a stipulation in the contract that we didn't like, where they could basically move us to a different part of the building at any point that they wanted, and I didn't want that in there, and they wouldn't take it out, so that didn't work. And then then you'll find zoning issues, and like there's all these different things. I mean, literally look for 7 years. And the place that we're in now, like even that, we got delayed. Like we were supposed to open in February and we didn't get opened until the fall. So March, April, May, June, July, August. We got delayed like 7-8 months from when we were supposed to open. So it's really difficult. You just got to keep looking. I wish I had better advice for you, but let's see, Matt, what's your nickname? So, I mean, everyone just calls me Matt now, but for my whole life, I was called Anto, which is not super creative, but that's what I was called as a kid, high school and college. You know, like on like we have a Wake Forest, like all my old teammates and buddies, like we have a couple text chats that or yeah, I don't know what you call them, group chats that we'll talk about like Wake today and stuff. Nobody will call me Matt in there. Like if they write anything, they're gonna write Anto. That's what I was called as a player. But then once I stopped playing, everyone just kind of calls me Matt now. Anto Smelly. That was when I was probably like 12 or so. You know, kids would joke around, Anto Smelly. Very creative. What age groups do I coach? So I coach different age groups every year, but this year I coach the 13s and the 17s. I always coach the 17s. The last bunch of years I've been coaching the 11s and the 17s, so I get the young kids and then to like get them into the program, and then I get the old kids for recruiting. This year I coached the 13s for the first time since COVID. The COVID year I coached 13s, and then after that I went 11s. You know, I've been 11s and now I'm back to 13s. Every age is interesting. 13s is the most difficult, I think, year to coach because it's transitioning from the small diamond to the big diamond, which is a really big transition year for players. And you have like yesterday, we played a team yesterday, literally their 4-hole hitter was like, he looked like he was like 6'2". Their 6-hole hitter was like 4'2". It's crazy. So it's been an interesting year too. Like I really like the young. I've noticed this. Nothing against my 13-year-old team. I've told them this today. I've told them this multiple times. So I went to our 11U game last weekend, and I was thinking about this today. Like when I went to the 11-year-old game, they had all these chants, right? And like people like make fun of it, be like, "Oh, softball chants" and all that stuff. And it was like, but I sat on the bench and I was like, "This is awesome!" Like every kid here is into the game. Everybody had like this chant going for each player, and there was like a great atmosphere, and everyone was having fun. And I was like, "This is really cool." I know maybe the other team might have been like, because sometimes they'll say like, "This isn't softball," whatever. My thought was, all our kids are enjoying playing, and this is like a real team. Like, I liked it a lot. One thing I've talked to our 13-year-olds about is like, I get a vibe, and it might just be this year's team, I don't know. And I'm not telling you guys anything I didn't tell them, but like, sometimes it feels like at 13, it's like, it almost feels like they're too, it's like, well, we're too cool to chant, it's like, they're in like that weird time where it's like, I don't know, it feels like they're not little kids anymore, like that play like our 11s do. So I'm trying to figure out, like I would literally rather them do 11-year-old chants, I guess is what I'm saying. And like enjoy the game instead of sitting there in silence. Because that's been driving me nuts. All right, last few. Thanks, DC. Appreciate it. Steve, have you been asked? You may have been asked this, but I must ask. Have you? Yeah, I don't know what the debate is. I'll say this. I don't know either one personally. Both guys have made a lot of comments about me or on my channel. I've never gone on someone else's YouTube channel or social media and made a negative comment just because I try to worry about what I'm doing. I don't care about what other people are doing. And so I'm not saying either one of them are bad guys. I just know that both of them will very quickly take a shot at you for no reason. Both have on me. And especially Jeff Fry over the last year or so, he takes shots at everybody. Again, so I'm not going to say he's a bad person. I just really don't like his approach of being Mr. Negative and yelling and screaming that like me and every other coach in the world is trying to like ruin the game of baseball. And that we don't know anything because we weren't all-stars in the big leagues. So, and I've said this to him. I sent a message and said, instead of yelling at me and every other coach, why don't you just teach? Just coach however you want to coach. So, I don't know. That's my thought on the whole thing. I think everyone should just coach. If you want to teach hitting, teach hitting. And if you do a really good job of it, a lot of people will like it and they'll get a lot of value from it. But just like trying to bash every other hitting coach but not providing any value, to me is silly. But I mean they can do what they want. If that makes them happy, I guess, then whatever, but it gets a little annoying. Chad, really good question. Probably too much for me to talk about here, but if you watch our videos, if you go on, whether you go to Anthony Baseball or Anthony Softball YouTube channels, a ton of my talk is about how to shorten your swing, how to get your swing up to speed fast, how to get the barrel in the zone early. So like, I would go and check out those videos because that will help you. And help your daughter. How many total teams do we have in our organization? We've had, what have we had, 13 for the last bunch of years? So we always fluctuate, I think, between like 12 and 13, somewhere in there. Pretty much it comes down to like having 2 teams at every level. But some years, like this year we have 111 and 117. Last year we had 2 17s. So it typically is, it basically comes out to about 2 teams at every level. Do I lift heavyweight? I don't lift at all anymore now. Favorite fast food place? Probably Chick-fil-A. I like Chick-fil-A a lot. I like Chipotle a lot. Those are probably my 2 favorite. Yeah, I like In-N-Out, but there's no In-N-Outs around here. When I was out in Arizona or Vegas or wherever, I go to In-N-Out. Five Guys. I like Five Guys a lot. How many coaches do I have on a staff? So, most of our teams have 2. I shouldn't say always. I coach by myself. So at 13s, I just coach by myself. My thought is, if I'm going to have an assistant coach, I want to make sure it's a good assistant coach. I dislike having an assistant coach just to have one. People a lot of times will say to me like, you really should have an assistant coach. Or like, they'll be like, oh, I can coach first base for you. No thanks. No offense, but so I want to make sure if I have another coach that we're sending the same message. If I don't feel like we're sending the same message, I don't want to have an assistant coach. Maybe that's because I'm really anal, but like I don't want somebody saying something different than I'm teaching. And that's why a lot of our coaches have been with us forever, because now that we've been together, like I'm at every practice throughout the winter and stuff. So like the coaches know what I like, how I like to teach things. Not saying they're going to be like an exact clone replica of me, but they all have a pretty good idea how I want to play the game and my thoughts. And so, in baseball, there's a lot of things that can happen. And so it's hard to find people that are going to be like that. And so again, I don't want just a random person coaching. Like, we'll play a team, you know, I've had people say this to me before, like last year, or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember. But they would be like, really outnumbered, coach, only one of you and 5 of the other coaches. And I'm like, yeah, well, first of all, it's typically like everybody's dad on the team just gets a pullover and they're coaching. I'm like, so that's not really 5 coaches, it's just 5 people from the stands that are on the field. And second of all, I'm like, I'm not outnumbered. No offense, but I don't need anyone else to help me. It drives me nuts when, like, you know, well, we haven't had anyone picked off this year, but there was a kid picked off on one of our other teams, and somebody yelled that it was because we didn't have a first base coach. And I was like, it has nothing to do with not having a first base coach. Like, some people legitimately think because a first base coach didn't yell back, that's why the guy got picked off. No, that's not why. If you play baseball, have any idea, he did not get picked off because someone wasn't there to say back. Anyways, I don't want to get going down this too much, but let's see. I'll answer this last one. I coach my kids' team. Often I feel like I am harsh or strict one. How can I balance this without dropping out of coaching? I feel like the other coaches let the kids run wild. Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm trying to do the same thing. Like, I always try to balance. I don't want to be too negative. Also don't want to be like too loosey-goosey. So there's certain things that I'm like a stickler for. It's really hard. I guess like, for instance, today I had 2 players that walked. This is a huge, like, I have certain things that our team knows, like, you just don't do if I'm coaching the team. Or if you play in our program, you shouldn't do. I hate walking on the field. Like, you don't walk. I watch us take the field every inning. If somebody's not running on the field, I'm going to yell to run, and I'll say, Johnny, run. Why are you walking on the field? And then Johnny will run. So, like, but I had 2 players today that walked on the field after I'd already told them to run. And for some reason, they, you know, were pissed off about that bad, and they walked on the field. And this time I just let them walk. I let them walk all the way out to the field. And then when they finally got there, which was like 3 minutes later, I grabbed 2 guys on the bench and I said, hold on. And I said, you 2, go to the outfield. Tell those 2 guys get off the field. So they had to run out and take the 2 guys out. We had to sit there and wait for them to run back on. And then they got them to the bench and I said, you guys feel like walking on the field? Cool. You sit right next to me for the rest of the game. And that was it. And they sat next to me for the rest of the game. So, I mean, there's stuff like that where I basically tell the guys this is how I want to play, and I'm going to be a pain in the butt if you don't play the game this way. But also, like, I'm balancing that with also making sure that, like, I'm not negative all the time, and I'm like, I don't think anyone on our team thinks I'm a jerk. But also, I don't need to be like their best friend. If they're going to do things I don't like, then I'm going to get on them. But there's definitely, I'll end it with this too, and then we'll go. Because I do think there are some, I mean, I've been around some coaches that are like, I think, in my personal opinion, sometimes I'm like, they're like a little overboard. Like, you know, coaching a 10U team and just like screaming and yelling. Number one when coaching is you don't want to make the kids quit because they hate you. Like, keep the kids playing. So you have to balance that. You can't, if you are completely on them at every second of every minute and you're relentless and they hate playing for you, that's not good. but you also want to be demanding at the same time. And what's the balance there? That's, I guess, where experience comes in, and knowing the team and what they need, and all that. So, and I'm not saying I do it perfectly. I'm like, probably sometimes some people might be like, oh, he's letting them get away. What's up, Tranquilo? Tranquilo. Brings me back to my playing days when that was like big saying. Que lo que, tranquilo. I heard that 100 million times. All right, everyone. I am gonna go to bed. I was wanted to go to bed a long time ago, and I stayed up way too late. I've gotten no sleep the last bunch of nights, but I hadn't done one of these in a long time. So, oh my God, I've been on here for 2 hours. I was planning on doing an hour. I did 2 hours. Wow. All right. Well, anyways, hopefully that helps. Appreciate everyone watching. Any questions about anything? I mean, I've made like 3,000 videos, so just go check out all our other videos on YouTube. And if this is your first time in a live chat or a live question and answer, hope you liked it. And that's all I got. Got baseball tomorrow and every other day for the summer, so gonna go get ready for that. We'll see you all later. Thanks for hanging out.